I'm sure. A lot of shirts off. I'm sorry, I have to sit up front. A camera, not on it. You know how many built-in fans I did right there? Somebody going down the hill. Don's on the phone, okay, but he doesn't have audio, but we have, going to the board members, both of these board members. Michelle, Sam, John, me, Beth, Amanda. Am I missing? Let me get on the phone.
Yeah, Don.
She doesn't have a microphone. Where are we looking for? Don's on. Oh, Dawn is on. Okay, that's done. Okay. That's not on. Beth, Don, Jay, Amanda's not on. Louis is not on. Michelle is here, Scott is on. Oh, Sam's on, he's on. John Roper is on. Sarah Taylor is not. Anthony McKinney is on. Okay. Is it? Don't you see Anthony McKinney? Okay. Amy Trudeau is here. Sam on it. Amanda McGlown is not on. And Rachel Small is not on. Can we see that something?
Yeah, I'm pretty,
She needs to mute it on her end. Every minute to mute on your end. Okay. Okay, we have established a quorum, so we can call the meeting to order at what time is that? 8:11. Sorry to start late, but we have technical difficulties with this, Zoom and whatnot. Hopefully the day that that will be over soon. Yes, hopefully today. First of all, before we move to the agenda, no, let's do the agenda first. Okay, we would like to approve the agenda, but we would like to move the audit report to the first thing after approval of the agenda, because there's no reason for these guys to have to hang around for they have to meet with them. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda with the audit report being?
I so moved.
Second. Beth and Michelle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay. Move to the agenda.
Hey, Ms. Beth,
Yes?
it's Anthony.
Yes.
Can I make a motion to add something to the agenda?
Everything needs to be viewed and have to raise it. Yeah. Sure, we've approved the agenda, but you can make it a motion to amend the agenda we just approved.
I think I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda to add the no confidence results from the coalition staff and the coalition providers regarding the executive director's ongoing issues.
You can tell them in your.
We can put it on there, but there's very little we can say about it.
You have to have a motion second to vote.
Yes,
So, is that your motion?
You make it a motion. Motion to add no confidence surveys by Anthony. Is there a second? Anyone second? Anyone making?
Their hand raised.
Who?
That
Is
is
it on
the board
board
member.
member? No. If we don't have a second, the motion dies for lack of a second. Okay, before Chad goes, I have a little bit I need to say. Okay, if you know me at all, you know I never read from a script or overly prepare my words. However, although we live in a great country where we are freer than any other citizens in the world, there are laws that have been in place for most of my life that greatly protect former employees, and that is fabulous thing most of the time. What can and cannot be said is extremely limited regardless of the reason they are no longer employed. Unfortunately for all of us, those former employees can shout pretty much anything from the highest mountaintop about us, their former employer, with their friends over and over, louder and louder. However, please remember this cacophony of unfettered noise does not mean that they have rights on their side. Aside from the time, energy, and expense of hiring counsel to prove libel or slander, which none of us is prepared to do at this point, we just have to take it with a straight face and continue on with our mission. Our mission, as I wanted to remind all of us, and we may mention more than once today, is to support the success of every child and their family through quality early education and care. That is our mission. On that note, it's good to be with you today, and I'm excited about letting you know what we are accomplishing to help children in our community. First, I'd like to update a few matters. It is audit season. Actually, it's also fiscal monitoring season and accountability review season. Because of our relationship with the state, we are subject to all sorts of financial reviews, and with good reason. We understand and accept the responsibility of being good stewards of taxpayer money. I want to walk you through these financial well checks to make sure you have precise information. First, Chad Hamilton is here to discuss an actual audit, our annual external audit conducted by Warren Agrit. I'm pleased to report that as in years past, Chad is offering an unqualified opinion of our finances. He can expand more on that during his presentation, which he will. There was a single finding in the audit regarding a 2-year-old issue with our internal controls under the prior finance director and operations director. This error involved cash that was repaid to the state. It caused a $167,000 error in reporting. Let me be clear, this was an accounting error, but not any sort of issue of missing money or anything like that. The second financial check was what's called fiscal monitoring by the State Office of Early Learning. This report doesn't include findings, but does include what are called observations, which are roughly defined as items that require follow-up. One of these was the same issue I just told you about. The rest were minor. For example, one issue involved missing written confirmation of IT password being removed for ex-employees. Note, the action was completed, it was only the documentation was missing. It's documentation, a list of documentation that we didn't even do 5 or 6 years ago before Renee got here. We put in place some accountability, and yet somebody missed checking the box. It wasn't that the passwords weren't terminated, a box wasn't checked. That's how minor some of these things are. There's also something called an accountability review by the Office of Early Learning. This is a programmatic review that is administered to every state ELC. We've received a preliminary report that has given us areas of improvement, but none of these are considered serious or any threat to the organization or its funding. Back to Chad's audit. He's going to tell you about a deeper dive he took after some of the issues raised by speakers at our last meeting. He evaluated those allegations in the context of the audit and concluded that they did not have an impact on the audit. I'd like to turn it over to Chad now to expand on this and cover the audit.
All right, good morning. Chad Hamilton with Warren Agrit. Thank you for having us here. And so what we will do is we will go over the document you have there in front of you with the blue Warren Agrit cover on it, because that's going to just be your easiest way to track and recap what was going on in the audit. So, as Beth said, your desired result of getting an audit is an unqualified opinion on the financial statements and consideration of the financial statement audit. That is the result. So that's the first thing you see here is the opinion on the financial statement. It's an unqualified opinion where it says the financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects in consideration of GAAP, the Union Separate Fund. Then in the report on supplemental information, we have the supplemental information talking about the amounts expended under the federal awards. Those are fairly stated as well. The findings came in on the instance of essentially it's overbilling. So it was reporting under the governmental auditing standards. So these are on the internal control environment. So 2 instances of non-compliance, and those are 2 material weaknesses. Both those instances are considered material weaknesses. So the way you have to look at it is from an expense standpoint, which is where most of the audit is focused. There wasn't an issue with paying the providers and impropriety there. What happened was an error in billing. And so you focus a lot on the reconciliation and confirmation of the state that says, yep, this is what ELC was awarded, these numbers are right, but what turned out is there was an error in essentially double billing, and all regarding the match in 2019. So that results in a total of $167,500 of error, and 2 separate instances there. So there's 2 findings related to those 2 separate instances, both of which are in regards to match. And it really, you have the match, you should back off what you're going to receive from the state. That didn't happen because of an error. And so that happened 2 times, kind of 2 similar but separate instances. And that's where you have the result of the findings of non-compliance. And those are considered material weaknesses. Part of the reason why they're material weaknesses is because the number. But there's a very small, inconsequential instance deal with it. $80,000+ in error each time. There's a material amendment. In regards to the next page, page 4, you see reporting under uniform guidance. So that's federal awards. What we talked about, we're talking about. Now, it doesn't matter if I'm clear we can affect the federal law. But in regards to whether or not we have an audit, compliance. During the year. So we did have allegations that were brought to our attention from an email at the end of our audit through Crete. And so we evaluated those allegations in the context of the audit. Saying that in the context of the audit, what kind of significance does it have, what we're doing, and what about disagreements or opinions, whatever. And there was nothing there meriting anything different from what we've already completed. So we evaluated and considered in the context of the audit. The changes in accounting policies this year, there are none significant or unusual transactions. Main thing would be the 2 errors that we noted in 2019 that caused $167,000 total back to the OEL. But that was repaid in 2021 as been anticipated. Even at the end of this audit, 620, they were still alive. So no unusual transactions made, no transactions which are a guidance of we do have that other audit. So we had adjustments affected by the audit process, $541,000 increase in gross for the 2024 GAAP revenue. I will show you in the financial statements kind of the result of the correction of that. That is what the accounting terminology is for billing year after 2019, so that's not prior, which takes us to if you look on page 3, what you'll notice in that 2019 paragraph is at the top of the 2019 column, it says as stated. And so what happens happens is you'll see the third line under the liability, the Office of Early Learning, line 67, 227. And then, if you were looking at the old 2001, so you see net assets without knowing the restriction company, about $157,000 high. So that's what you would have stated there in that thing. You'll notice that 2019, it also talks about being saved because that's where the amounts that were overbilled is backed out of revenue.
No, but not. So, when the note on goes through actually, yeah, they use the line item, and we just.
So note, excuse me, note lines. 15. See all the different line items on the financial statements. So it decreases the net assets by $167,000 because they were overstated. Any questions on the auditor?
There any hands raised by board members? No one here in the room? We don't take any action. It's just information, so.
Okay.
Once again, guys, if you know it.
I'll get the other back.
Oh, yeah.
They're not finalized.
Mm-hmm.
You can keep the bottom of the other one.
Yes.
One of them.
One red line. So we'll get you the finalized, please.
Within the lead, just as we were kind of previously working out that bill, where we said like drug one control. They want us to leave.
Yeah.
That means they believe you're controlling the quality.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For coming out early. Okay, before we move on to the next items, we wanted to mention some of the other audits and things going on, but we wanted to give him time to do his. Okay, also outstanding is an audit by the Auditor General of a few county ELCs in the state, of which we were lucky ones to be randomly chosen. When that audit is completed, we will promptly report the results to you. There's nothing we can report right now as it's not been finalized. All of this financial oversight is welcomed. Addressing areas of improvement means we can focus fully on our mission of helping children and their families. Unfortunately, there are always those who would rather spend their time and energy tearing down rather than building up. We simply will not allow anyone to hinder the great work we are doing. If someone like this reaches out to you, please don't give them the oxygen they seek. I appreciate that the multiple emails that we've gotten, that all of you are very cognizant of Sunshine and have not replied to anyone, to any of them, and I appreciate that. It's a sign of a good board member. In this vein, I want to let you know that there have been 2 discrimination complaints filed against the ELCC. From the same 2 ex-employees who spoke to the last executive committee meeting of the board. These complaints include almost comically inaccurate accusations against the organization. Again, our work is too important to allow distractions to deter us. Now let's talk about the good we are doing. Just this week, we've issued checks totaling $1,064,628.73 to area providers who are providing vital services to our area's young people. 66 VPK programs were funded and 65 school readiness programs were funded. More than 3,000 children will be helped. This is what we do. This is why we are here. This is what Renee and her team do every day. We simply cannot allow them to be distracted from this amazing work. One particular story to share, although there are many. There's a former client out there, a single mom. She was struggling to work and provide for her child. She came to the ELC where she received child care assistance through our school readiness program. As a result of the ELC's helping her with a helping hand, she now owns and operates a successful business right here in Oklahoma County. Not only is she self-sufficient, her child is successful in school, and she now provides additional jobs for working families in our community. This is what we do. This is our mission. I am proud of this team. Renee has done an amazing job leading it through a pandemic, which has been extremely challenging. Amy, our interim finance director, is helping to clean up our finances, and we have hired bright, talented team members who are helping to create a new culture of teamwork and excellence. I look forward to the days ahead as we continue to fulfill our mission in spite of the noise in the system. So, at this point, I'd like to move on in the agenda. Next is minutes of the board meeting of March 26, 2021, which are on pages 12 to 16 in your board packet.
I'm gonna leave over there, so I'll tell her if she's got anything.
It's fine. That is perfectly fine. We can still hear you. Everybody had the packet ahead of time. I just don't know if you had time to look at certain undertakings.
I think that we approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Bev,
Second by me.
second by Lou. All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor? Yeah, I'm making sure they're unmuted, board members are unmuted. Any, opposed? Okay. The minutes of the board meeting March 26th are approved unanimously. Okay, the next order of business is the summary of executed contracts. They're on page 17 and 18. This is an informational piece that the staff started adding, I don't know, some time ago. It seems like we have a lot of contracts and they just want everybody to be aware of what they are and how much they are, what they're for. Some of them are small, some of them are very large. Does anybody have any questions, concerns, comments about the contracts as of April 15th? If not, we can move along. I said it's there for information. Next is the status of the agency audits and monitoring on page 19. This is another thing that they added some time ago because it does seem like we have quite the list of monitoring, audits, and reviews at any one time. We pretty much talked about these, but if you want to see exact dates when it started and they're expected to end, it's all on here on page 19. Next, on to the treasurer's report. The financial dashboard starts on page 20. And I believe Mr. Sansom, our new treasurer, thank you again.
Okay, so we'll go through and we'll start with the financial dashboard. Just let me know if you have any questions. I can do if you don't have questions, but as you know, on the financial dashboard, it shows our school readiness program, all these procedures are set by plan, state potential. Why, what we need to do in those areas. If we're not, it's just a matter of timing on these expenditures. We have the DPK program, same thing, we have some good accounts already set up there. We have a couple savings center about credit cards and expenditures. So any questions on the financial dashboard, please self-explanatory. Read or please one.
No, we do it all together.
Beth,
Yeah.
give a hand when you got board members.
Okay.
Anthony.
Anthony?
Hello, it's Anthony. I just wanted to make note for the meeting that I was not able to vote on the last two orders, as it would not allow me to unmute myself anymore. So I figured out that I had to raise my hand.
So you have it now? We can go back. It was the minutes. I think the minutes is the only vote we've taken since the agenda. Did you vote to approve or disapprove the minutes?
I vote to approve those notes.
Okay, thank you for letting us know. And so it's still unanimous, including Allie. Okay, she says, can you lower your hand? She got it, okay. Okay. By the time we get really good at this, we won't be long, right?
I mean, in my office, I do like put it up, so you can see all that.
Yes.
It makes a big difference.
Well, that's why then we can see, oh, you
Yeah,
raised it. Physically see your live hand. Okay.
Okay, go back to the statement of activities, what kind of remarks are you going to if we're gonna talk about this group of those months? So I wonder if
So flip to March.
Yes, we go to March, I'll talk about March, if you have questions for February, I can address them, but they're kind of the same in those months. But just a couple points, if you go into revenue, there's the last one, the, other local donations, contributions, the last.
Hi, Renee. Renee, it's Pam Jones. Can you hear me?
Ms. Pam, I was able to hear you.
Okay, I'm not hearing them.
I'm no longer hearing them.
Yeah, we can hear on mine, so.
I'm unmuted. It asked me if I want to be unmuted.
Can people hear us? Where would we?
Now.
Okay, they can hear us
You can
now.
hear us now.
Yay!
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we have no idea what happened. I apologize. Nobody was touching anything. All right.
So we'll go, one of the things we go down to, professional, PRO, with professional services, the temporary employment, you see that percentage is significantly high. We've had to bring on some temporary employees, here of late. And so if we go continue under expenditures, we do have under scholarships, other educational opportunities, this will be a budget update. Again, this is a timing payment situation for the percentage of the 13%. It's just a timing based within that. So any percentage that's illegal on audits mostly is the timing of how the payment works and how the money comes out. So that's my report on the statement of activities, and it's the same for March and February percentages are.
Okay.
If we can get to the next one, under the statement of financial position, really it's just a balance sheet. Basically, we call it a statement of financial position, but really it's a balance sheet. You see the assets. Everything's pretty easy to read and follow. Under prepaid and other, that's where our HR contract with provider is for VPK, is payback, all the payback. So anyway, that's just kind of what I want to mention on the prepaid and other, but our HR contract is there. And then under liabilities, and probably the biggest issue is covered by the audit students. You just want to make on the PPP law. We have asked for forgiveness. We haven't received it yet, but we have asked for forgiveness. So
It's
I
just
know
a process.
it's a matter of time. Yeah, that's all happening. And they're actually really very quickly.
I wanted to ask if the video feed from this meeting has been cut.
Anthony, can you speak louder?
I was asking if the video feed from this meeting has been cut off.
Something's happened to it, Anthony.
We have sound but not video. We don't know why. It is.
Turn off again, plug it on.
Yeah.
Is it good now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Anthony.
Okay.
So that's true on the March and February balance sheets. Okay, now we'll go to the,
I have a question real quick.
Sure.
Do we know of any organizations statewide who have applied for the PP loan forgiveness that have got it? And that's all that.
all of the division has, yeah. So I work for, overseas operations, school financial company has applied for forgiveness and we received it last week.
Okay, so they're
It's
going through
ongoing,
it.
it's ongoing
I
right
was curious
now.
if they started actually giving the forgiveness. Okay.
And from my understanding, Mr. Meat knows that yesterday, as soon as you can show how much of the money you've used, a percentage, to say for sure that it's gone to wages, that's gonna be the key to get, to get that through. So it's a matter of getting that percentage they wanna see, I think, and then they'll go ahead and work.
And we have plenty of wages to cover.
Oh, yeah, so there should be, I can't.
It just only moves so fast.
So we're on the CARES Act, the coronavirus, users and that kind of, still a lot of people don't know what CARES Act is, so I'll mention that. So we received migrant money for this program, interesting, when it first started, it was for first responders and healthcare workers, budget back to work, so we could, provide good education and opportunity for the children. And then if we look under the sector, the first responders healthcare bonus, that's the bonus for providers to making first responders healthcare. So that's really looked at, to really, I think, create a innovative fall of back in 2011. So we're up to 1.5 million, that's the new money, which we did recently, so our budget is 1.5 million. As I know, I do feel like our world is very heavily documented, regulated. We'll move to a local match. We got some good business partners that we work with. You can kind of see, particularly most part, local matches and match, they give the money to match at $1 for $1. Most of these, like that is part of the partners to the one as well. So if the organizations think that what they do is valuable, we'll have to keep that up. That's we like to increase the partners that for how important what we do and how well it's done. So we have people like and institutions like the I think everything's going well through the partnership.
Yes, we have already applied for overleaf accounts. United Way. The city of Virginia Springs, they were going through a kind of a transition
A lot.
period. So they were going to use a different, format for grant funding. I don't have that yet. And the city of Niceville, I went and did the presentation, but I've not heard back from the city.
And just to note, most of this match money these days is used for what we call the Alice payment. It's so we can serve those people between 150 and 200% of federal poverty level. It's a sector that we could not serve with our normal money. And those people still are at that level where they need help. And that is a very good thing that we're able to get this and help those people.
The last one is this week's status of the agency audit and financial report.
If anybody any questions, comments?
I have a comment.
Caitlin?
I just want to say too, this past, 14, 15 months and everything's gone on, I mean, the fact that the financials look the way they do, the way that we're able to pay providers, the fact that we're able to get money to get out to make sure that people continue to be employed, that their kids continue to be taken care of. I'm happy to see we're finally, going on the back side of the hill with this now. Hopefully things will get back to, some semblance of us being able to just go to our jobs and do what we need to do to provide. I want to thank everybody, and the employees for doing that. There's a lot of hard work, a lot of overtime, a lot of temp work, a lot of whatever went into this past. So hopefully once we slip into this next fiscal year, we can look at these reports and just go back to the
Some of
way
these
they
reports
were.
will go away.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that we were able to continue to keep these providers paid, continue to serve these kids, continue to bring children in, during all of this, is a testament to, the employees, to the providers, to the community, and the way everybody came together to do that. So, I just want to put my appreciation out there and know looking at these financials that, our ability to keep these to where they are now, is a good reflection of how everybody worked together through this last 14, 15 months.
And I'm glad to say we were able to do some extra for the providers because of money. There's money that were funneled right back to the providers, and we appreciate the Walton County and the fees that were provided.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this, like I said, this, I don't know if we've had anything like this since maybe 2011, where,
Yeah.
The community has had come together and make everything work. So, unfortunately, it takes,
I guess in 2001.
2001.
9/11 of 2001. It has been 20
It
years.
has been, man, I have been doing unfortunately, it takes these disasters sometimes to bring it together. So hopefully coming out of this, and we realize the importance of our community working together, and we can move forward in a more lockstep. So yeah, it's been challenging, and I appreciate you taking on these financial.
Absolutely, it's a very good, great. You see what we do,
Absolutely.
So, if there's no other comments or remarks, I need a motion to accept the financials for February and March. Second? Second from Bev. All in favor to accept the financials as presented for February, March of 2021?
Aye.
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 Okay, I think that was everybody, but any opposed? Okay, the financials are approved unanimously, and thank you, Ray, for stepping in and getting up to speed, because I know this is, it's not.
Thank you, Amy.
Yes, and thank you, Amy, for doing them, and Ray for presenting them.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yes.
I know someone did.
Took me about It took me about 10 years to even sort of understand what it is.
He's a good,
She does have it. Okay, so moving on to old business, evaluation committee update, the wage comparability study and compensation analysis, which was an RFP 2021 wage. The information on that are pages 29 and 31 in your packet. I was going to say, this is just basic. I was looking to see what actually was in here. We asked for, we put out an RFP request, which is request for proposals. We received 2 proposals. One was from Whitley, and now I can never remember what it stands for. The other was the Center for Community Futures. The executive committee was asked to evaluate all these. They were sent out to all of us. Everybody on the executive committee took their time to actually evaluate them, and when you look at the scores, Whitley is substantially higher than the Center for Community Futures. I know personally when I looked at it, it looked like Whitley was really zoning in on what we were asking for. That was very obvious to me. I don't know if the rest of y'all, I read all the way through them, and then I scored both of them. And
Well, just the language in the other one indicated that either they thought we were next on,
or they
or they
didn't
just
bother
took-
to change
yeah,
what
they
was in a
just took an
file.
old proposal from the Head Start program and used it here.
That bothered me a bit too. I've tried to look beyond that and still look at the content, and they still didn't appear to me that they were specific to what we were asking for. So, does anybody else have any comments or anything from your observations? One of them?
Does this require a vote to?
It does. It doesn't have a star, but it's,
I thought it did.
yes, that's a little text.
I don't know what's going on with
Yeah.
that.
So, are there any, if there's no other comments, could I get a motion to accept the proposal? Okay, go ahead.
Following this comparable, this study and this analysis, we're going to look at what internally our salary structure is, correct?
That's part of what they're going to do.
That gives us the ability to potentially raise rates, potentially lower grades of different things. This is not the plan, but that is on the table. But it does not bind us on how we pay going forward. So
No.
this is an informational RFP.
Yeah.
They're going to be giving us information, not advising us on what we should do. So I just want to make it clear that every decision is made following this study, if the board decides to do anything, that is at the pleasure of the board, as opposed to an advisory.
Yes. We're not hiring them to make a decision for us.
So I just want to make sure that it's clear. We have, as a board, we've done it in the past. We've had the ability to raise salaries, to do whatever we needed to do, which we have done. I
We
think
folded categories together, if we saw fit, we split them apart.
I think we raised wages twice, I think, since I've been on the board. I mean, if it were up to me, I would just give everybody a 25% raise right now. Unfortunately, it's not that easy to do that on funding. But this will give us a good base to move forward. I just wanted it on the record that this is not an advisory contract. This is just an information binding contract for somebody who is in the market, knows how to do these reports, that we can look at as another piece of information as we move forward.
They have that time and energy to look at what we don't really.
And
And it's an outside set by us.
But they're experts at that
Yeah.
series, so it'll be really helpful in trying to decide what needs to be done.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Can I get a motion then to accept, the Whitley hire
Motion to
score?
award.
Motion to award to Whitley.
Guys, it'll be, award, and then get the firefighter,
Oh, okay. So you got an intent to award.
Intent to award.
Do I have a second? Michelle. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. That's unanimous, and we will let that process move along. Okay.
Can everybody still there?
That's what I heard before.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, shuffling papers. Next is on the new business policy update, the anti-fraud policy on page 32 through 37. I believe this is something that we have to do every year. That we do every year. Even if nothing changes, we have to approve it and send it on to the state by a certain deadline, so.
Second.
That was Ray and Blue. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that's approved unanimously. We report that along to the state in a timely fashion to meet our deadlines.
Are there any more items proposed, or that's just proposed, correct?
That's it for both.
Okay, we'll make sure. All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Fine, yeah.
On it. Okay, so next is staff updates.
Okay. Can everybody hear me? Okay. So staff updates, we are currently recruiting, through Landrum, through Indeed, through Career Source, through one more, Kelly. Thank you, Michelle. And anybody else I can talk to in the community, including you guys, for the positions that we have open. Amy has agreed to, stay on as the interim finance director, so we'll find the right finance director. We will be looking at the new organization, specifically based on the new law that's coming in, pretty soon. But we still have to wait and see what falls out there with William Mason, to see what adjustments we need to make. But I will be, looking at, some organizational structure changes. Dana has stepped in right now and is overseeing the entire operations with the exception of the finance department. So kudos to her. She's actually in a staff meeting right now with a lady from Orange County that is doing training on provider profiles, so that we can put all hands on deck next week to do provider profiles, because without those done, nobody gets to get a contract for next year, and we're getting down to the wire on that. So, we have to focus on getting those done, so that's what they're doing this morning.
I just want to interject, that sounds like you're like provider profile. What is that? Filling out somebody's name, because I asked that myself. I said, what is the big deal? I've been hearing about provider profiles since like January, February. Apparently, even if everybody uploads everything correctly into the portal, it still takes about 45 minutes to do each one. And that's if everything's correct. And we rattled off how many providers we have, so you can do that now. I'm not gonna say anything about it.
I'm gonna
What
say
it
that,
is.
it's ridiculous. It should be an auto print out of that portal, and this is what this is. And they're not collecting enough, that portal is nothing but problems to get on.
So anyway, that's.
those problems, because we're gonna make it.
I know, you gotta get it.
But it has to be done for contracts to be in place, for kids to be in care on July 1, so it's extremely high priority.
So it'll be all hands on deck, next week, getting, provider profiles done. I have to say that the education team, under Dana's, overview, supervision, has done an incredible job stepping in, working on provider profiles. Monitoring was behind for PPK and the school readiness program for this fiscal year. And her team has stepped in again, including herself, and will be doing monitoring to make sure that we get all those completed before fiscal year. So I'm just gonna have to say, we need to give a special thanks to Dan and her team for stepping up to the plate and doing the stuff that they've been doing. And all the things that need to be done, need to get done, and we gotta get it done on time. Right, so, it's like big thank you to them. I have to say how much I appreciate it. So that's all the staff updates I have right now. We are getting a few applications in every now and then, also.
It's just a fierce fight, is all I can
Yeah,
say.
it is.
I mean, I'm to a
It's
point
not
now,
just us.
I'm to a point now, I'm telling my team, you know what? Let's get some really good candidates right out of school, let's train them, let's see if we can keep them forever. Quit deciding that they've gotta fit every box that we've been able to fill before, because we can't. We just cannot do it, so. I'm like, if you go to the grocery store and you have a really good cashier that you think you better be talking to, you better have a business card, you better be talking.
We have to start learning on attitude and aptitude, those are what's on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't fix staff with people, but you can train.
We're doing job fairs, we're doing Working Wednesday job fairs and having employers come in, and I think, and we're on social media, I mean, our emails go out to like 1,500 people a day, and we had 10 people show up Wednesday. And we had, at that point, 2 strong defense contractors, the hospital was there, it was, I mean, this time, we had some really strong employers in our area.
10 people showed
10
up.
people showed up. But
10
our
people
resource
probably
room
got
was full of people, still fine. Anyway,
That will stop when we start.
they didn't go down on the hallway. No, federal dollars is gonna be there till September.
I just make it a little harder for me.
Anyways, it's gonna flow. It's gotta get better, so we just gotta hang in there a little bit longer.
Okay. All right, anybody have any hands raised on okay. All right, okay, Dan.
Okay. Next is legislative update overview, be on page 38. This is what she's talking about, the new law that's coming down. House Bill 419 was passed. Has it been signed by the governor?
It has been signed by the governor.
So it becomes law, but as Ray, as all of us know, particularly Ray, the law becomes law, and then all the rules that support it have to come along. And that's what we end up actually going by is the rules.
So the
And-
governor has approved, so now we just gotta have.
And then we have to wait for the rulemaking process.
If you look on page 38 in your packet, it's got just a broad overview, so I think we need to read it.
Do we even,
It really is a broad overview of what's coming down for us. Now, I will say that, I have a meeting following this one, with the staff and the Association of Early Learning Coalition, staff who have done a really good job of bullet pointing the high spots of the bills that got passed that are gonna impact us, and we, have a Zoom meeting set up with the entire staff, with them this morning. We sent out the bullet points to the staff, so they can have questions ready, to be asked of these ladies who are very versed in, the legislative process. So, I wanted all of the staff to be very aware of what's about to impact how we do this.
Do we know when the rulemaking sessions, will begin?
No.
How long it'll take.
how long it take?
We hope that our providers will participate as much as
Absolutely,
possible.
absolutely. As they go on OEL's website, you can go to laws and rules and sign up, for every rule or workshop that they implement. They will actually send you a notice that this is coming up, register for one of them.
You want me to read everything? I mean, okay, so then we have time. And sorry, if I had looked at it, it says Governor DeSantis signed it into law this week. Sorry, too much paper in front of me. We can skip over that part other than it was bipartisan support, passed unanimously in both houses. That's a big deal. That doesn't happen very often. Highlights of it, the most important change is the timing and the weight of assessments and evaluations. Rather than not assessing until after children reach kindergarten, it will be done sooner.
Right.
Yeah, how have we been waiting on that one forever? Perhaps more, perhaps more importantly, learning gains will be evaluated rather than just proficiency measurements. That's a really big deal.
So it sounds like it'd be both, but at least they'll look at the.
Yes, at the games. If somebody starts down here really, really low, if they get here, that's a big deal.
That's been a real issue for our programs that have
That
So
taking the lowest and
the lowest income and the children with disabilities.
and then they get penalized. So this is huge in my opinion. This will of course remove the incentive for providers to avoid accepting children who might have a longer road to proficiency. Awesome. Another key change, important to note, the details on this have not yet been worked out, is that some assessment weight will also be placed on teacher-child interactions in the classroom and evaluating the learning environment.
That'll be the class.
Yes, the class.
Well, so we don't know what procurement tool, what tool.
Something like class.
Yeah, so we don't know that it will be class, but that's the sort of assessment that will be now going on in in addition to going on in. Correct.
But instead of being evaluated by a child who's never seen a mouse, using a mouse in kindergarten.
Right.
We're judged, they're judging their fine motor skills 3 months later. So it has to be better. This puts greater emphasis on teaching styles that help scaffold children's learning and foster creativity and communication skills. The aim is to lessen rote learning, such as drilling on letters and sounds, and put more focus instead on critical thinking, learning to problem solve, learning new teams, learning to communicate. These are the skills and traits that will better prepare children for kindergarten.
Maybe the color of the week, the shape of the week, the number of the week, the letter of the week, all of that can go away.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe, hopefully.
Or if it's a smaller part. you
Or
do
be
it.
used differently.
Yeah, but not by the week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, my kindergarten teachers and my family will tell you they're excited about this.
Yeah.
I've already heard. The new assessments will give more timely information to teachers, center directors, and parents to support children's learning. And for coalitions, the timely data may inform where quality dollars might best be spent, depending on the local timely context. The functionality of the parent profile will be improved. The way the rating is calculated will also be changing. The details of that have not been worked out.
There's a typo on my part.
Oh,
That's just a provider.
oh, sorry. I wondered about that.
Oh.
Provider
Cheer for
profile.
that.
Yeah, that's even better. I was wondering about parenting. Yeah. Like I said, we've seen some providers, we've gone, yeah, but I mean, we've gone into the centers, Ray and I went together back before he was a board member, I'll note, a year or so ago. It's just a center that takes in the very lowest socioeconomic, non-English speakers, children who are in foster care. Everybody in that center at some point had taken kids home, like, I'll foster them, I'm not sending them back to where they were. And they had very low scores because they were just starting so low.
Yeah.
So this is huge for those kind of people. I'm very excited about it. The new laws also elevate early learning by establishing a division of early learning at the Department of Education that will replace the current Office of Early Learning. There's some uncertainty in who will lead the organization, but overall this raises the profile of early learning at the state level. It sounds like it's just semantics, but it actually is changing the level of attention of early learning. And for the ELCs themselves, there are provisions in the bill that ask ELCs to be responsive to needs in the community. For example, parents will be offered a chance to give evaluations on their interactions with ELCs. So we'll see how all that works out.
Renee, with making that correction to say provider profile, could this document, just this one document, be put on the provider page of Facebook? Because this is so valuable, and I want to share it with my students as well.
Okay, actually, the one that we have from the association is probably, more
Better.
Okay.
So let me get through that one this afternoon. And
We
we'll
like
put the
people who
one
can
out
understand.
there. I'll get contact with you and I'll put the one out there that you feel like is.
Okay, most helpful.
Sure.
Let's keep it simple, keep it on this one.
Yeah, way high level.
From a parent standpoint, yeah, it's pretty helpful.
Change, getting us back to the right
Right.
approach to
We are
teaching
not
young children.
comfortable.
We are teaching 4-year-olds.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you. Thanks, Ray. All right. And we still have a quorum because we had more than two, correct? Yeah. I don't think we vote, but regardless, we don't have to, we still have a quorum in the meeting to continue.
Correct.
Just make a note that Ray had to leave at whatever time it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
What?
Or not.
What?
There's one right there.
There's one right there. Restroom is right here.
Which phone, is that phone, your phone? Yeah, I'm sitting on mine.
So that was the legislative update overview that was for information purposes only, nothing to vote on. It's good to hear.
Yes.
I'm gonna need, does anybody have an extra pen? This thing's running out.
Here.
You need to make notes too. I mean, I don't want something like. There, thank you, I appreciate it. I should have.
Take that policy.
I usually have 15 pins in my purse.
Probably get my, my.
Me too,
That
but I left my
email
purse
in my car.
Oh, okay.
Okay, okay.
Board membership.
Board membership next.
We need board members. But just to let you know, so Catherine Barley from the Health Department over in Washington.
Yep.
Her term ended just about the time she retired. And Dr. Chapman at Okaloosa County Health Department has appointed Amanda Caldwell to this board. I don't see her on this one, but I know that she was waiting on a tournament schedule for her child, and they were gonna be out of town, she thought, so that probably didn't happen.
And it's a new appointment she does.
Yeah, I just got the application and the letter from Dr. Chapman earlier this week.
Yeah, last time we talked, she didn't have the letter yet, so it wasn't even official. So she's very new.
The Head Start, that happened this recently too, just to update you guys, because that's many of you on the call this morning. The Head Start is, located over to Okaloosa County. I've let Debbie know, I've got all this information for her, so just, waiting on her to get things back to me. I think that's all right now.
How many positions are open right now?
We don't have any specific number that we have to have open. We do have, one gubernatorial appointment, that is vacant, that we have to have, an application for.
Okay.
And I'd really like to get a couple more private sector folks on here, and I've been talking to a few people, but they're trying to decide if, they have the time.
Got that.
Okay, no.
Thank you.
Right.
So, but if you guys know anybody, let me know. I'm happy to, do a brief orientation with them, just to let them know what we're all about. Happy to make that happen for them. That's all I have for board members.
The next is phase 5 grant. I see this is CARES phase 5.
Actually, it's SOSA. Now it's kind of new word.
Okay.
We probably know more about what that means.
No, I don't.
Anyway, we are processing those phase 5 grants right now. I think as of last, I got a number of 67, that have been, applied for. There were a couple of questions that we had to ask early on for clarification. I saw an email earlier this morning that we got that clarification. So, soon as the provider profiles are done, we'll be moving on to sending out the, upcoming scholarship program as we know, technically. So, I'm looking forward to getting that money out there. It's anywhere from 3,000, to 19,500.
And it's just for basically providers that were open on April 3rd.
Open on April, plan.
Anyway, on some
All my
specific date.
dates are done together again.
I've read it somewhere.
April
Some,
1st,
yeah, April 1st.
And aren't getting head start.
Yeah.
So, if you look on page 40, you actually got the application there, and the providers are actually filling out. But they do have, this is a caveat to this grant, they have to put a budget in that has, salaries and benefits for their staff, in here.
And at page 56 is what you can qualify for based on.
So not just like,
Yeah, it's based on capacity, how much.
Yes.
Anyway, it can't hurt. Any kind of money we can get into providers' hands with all this going on. It's good.
absolutely. All right.
I had my hand raised.
Yeah, well, I think, Bev had some comments as a board member, so I think the board can make their comments first.
Yes.
This is process going forward.
Yeah.
You can do it in public comment and then the public comment. I think
Yeah.
you can-
Okay.
All right, I just wanted to share some very good information about two of, our VPK teachers in our, teacher programs that we contract with. Sarah Fuller, who is a VPK teacher, has been awarded the Terry Lynn Lykoff, Teacher Award. It's a national award that goes to 50 teachers nationwide every year. So she's one of those 50. Her, the ceremony, everything's virtual this year. It's so sad.
So sad.
If it was like it normally is, she would have an all-expense trip paid to Philadelphia for the award ceremony. It will be virtual tomorrow night, and I'll send y'all a link in case anybody would like to watch it. I think that really, it is by Zoom, but it sounds like they really got the Zoom.
What was her name again?
Sarah Fuller. She, is receiving $1,000 for a project that she proposed, as well, and half of it for the project and half of that $1,000 was for her. Then another VPK teacher from, the program contracts with our coalition is Christina Walden.
Okay, here's you.
See, and Christina, earned the gold medal, which means first place for the state of Florida, in early childhood education at the Skills USA competition, and she will be competing nationally, in June. And, we've had amazing, people compete in the Skills USA. It is for students in early childhood education only, where the other award is for practicing teachers. She just graduated in December. So we expect Christina to make us proud at the national competition as well.
Are they having the national competition?
It's been virtual, and you would think that a virtual competition might make things easier.
Very
The
stressful.
state competition, it was stressful. I was served as her advisor, and it was so stressful and so complex, and nationals will be virtual as well. So the fact that she moved through that successfully was amazing, so.
Trying to have a meeting virtually is stressful.
If we hold it in Florida, we're open for business, we can do it all the ball games are open now,
It's the other states that don't
Well,
want to send people.
and the reason the national goes virtual, this thing is so huge. I can't even explain to you that it takes a year.
Mhm.
Once it ends,
Yeah.
the next year, they fill up the city. When it was held, the nationals were held in Kansas City for like 15 years. They were heartbroken because it impacted on the city's finances tremendously. And so when we left, that was a lot of money that went to another city. Anyway, so it's not something you can quickly decide, you can say.
You didn't have enough time to plan.
Yeah.
Hopefully for next year, and
Yes,
we'll have somebody
yeah.
next year.
Yes.
Good for her for making it,
Yeah.
and best wishes for the next level. Okay, anybody else, any other board?
Angie, do you have any updates from DCF or life?
We have, we were talking about the bills that passed. There's one that has passed that will really impact childcare. It's going to be around the transportation alarms. That's been circling for years now, and it did finally pass. So we'll be getting more information about that. We're waiting to see what's written by the department to send out. We expect that guidance, I believe they said by 2022. I don't know if that means it's going to be effective then, or my guess is they're going to give you a time frame and the compliance. So.
Set an alarm to eliminate children being led in the vehicle. Oh, wonderful.
So that'll be for any transportation vehicle using charge. So more information to come. I don't have any more information yet, but that's going to be a major change that's really pushing forward. Also, our counselors back in the field doing all inspections now. So we're doing some remote routine inspections now. They're back in the field, and we've had some staffing changes as well. So now this area, counselors are still the same, Kate and Philmon and doing the team. Pensacola, I have 2 openings that we're currently filling. So, but we've had some shifts, in that. So we're out there trying to finish up whatever needs to be done for school readiness inspection. And if you have any questions on that, call me. that you guys have, or see looking at those, let me know. I'm out there, we're all out there basically doing inspections pretty much all the time. But also we're available, so counselors are available for the providers to call in, to text. We can text now in our work cell, that's new. And then just email is fine too. And if we can't get a hold of your person, call me. I will be happy to connect you with whoever needs, you need to get connected with, or I'll be happy to help you. So we do have 15 providers right now looking at open facilities. In this area, I believe, in Oklahoma, Walton, I think there's 4. The rest of them are Santa Rosa, so that's a lot of
better than mine.
It is. It's wonderful to get more people interested in doing child care. So so if anyone's looking at that or looking to do that, we are working with people as we can. Of course, licensed providers come first. We keep those kids moving. We want to make sure we don't have disruption here. But then we will, work with the initials as we can, and we're pretty much just 24/7. So I know y'all know what I'm talking about.
That's super.
Yes, and things are going well. I just want people to understand that communication, we gotta keep that open. If people need to call us or email, please do it, or we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Hey, Miss Angie.
Hey,
It's Anthony. I just wanted to say thank you for those, and I'm sure I can speak for everyone, those emails that you do send out, when there's changes and kind of clarification on different rules and dates coming out. I found this very helpful, so I thank you for sending those out and hope they, do continue to.
You're welcome. I hope they are helpful. I'm hearing a lot of good things from people. I know everybody's busy, you get a million emails. So hopefully we'll be doing more in-person type of meetings coming up this next year as well, because I know that's missing. We need that connection. We all need to get together again and have that FaceTime. So thank you for saying that, Anthony. I really appreciate that.
We do get swamped in emails, but when we see one from you, it's like, okay, that's something we really need to know. It's like,
That last part, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
I was just,
That was a little broken up.
can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Yes.
I was just saying, we do get swamped in emails, but when we see an email from you, it's like an attention getter, and it's like, okay, if Angela's emailing us, this is something we really need to know, so let's hone in on it.
I'm glad to hear that. That's the whole point, is we're trying to assist you guys, really. So, we've been sending out these emails, those of you on the board, we've been sending out, monthly emails trying to assist providers with some of the requirements that, we might have been doing it for 20 years, but something's changed. A lot has changed in this 20 years. So just a reminder, to try to assist people, we don't want to see violations. We don't want to see people having this problem. We want to help on the front end. So that's the whole goal, really, is just to get information out there on hot topics so that we can need some, like, for example, playground safety was recently went out, and we did a PowerPoint, real simple, and a tip sheet. And I've gotten multiple calls. Oh my gosh, we're having a water day. I didn't know I couldn't do a pool. So what can I do instead? So we had conversations about that. So little things like that, just trying to help people so they don't get faced with, their inspections are not announced. So we'll show up, and if they're having a water day, we still have to do it. And if it's a problem, then we have to look at that. So the beauty is they can get the information up front and have a chance to ask questions before a situation arises like that.
I'd rather educate than
Yes, trying to
adjudicate.
We are moving back toward really and truly our counselors are called counselors. And we are, our culture in the department, I'm happy to say, we are moving back toward, we've always tried to be collaborative, but we are also a regulation agency, so we have a balance, right? But we are trying to increase the visits with providers that aren't necessarily following on inspection, or increase any kind of technical assistance we can give, because our goal is for the providers to be successful. That's really the goal. And success means you're providing quality care to children. I'm really excited to see when things are going with these house calls. I'm so excited. So moving away from so much of we have to meet this requirement for kids have to learn, they go to kindergarten, we need to also, more importantly, is the other end, the social end of it. So anyway, I'm very excited about it, so.
Awesome, I'll have to join in with it. I'm excited about it too. It's gonna be a lot of work,
Yes.
but we are ready to do this and to sit and proceed. And I'm going to teach.
Yes, and I think this last year, we have all had to learn a new norm. This is just gonna continue that trend. If you were used to doing this procedure in your VPK class, maybe we're gonna change it a little bit. We're gonna shift and adjust with, you know, what we know to be more appropriate and more effective for your sport. So I think if we look at it that way, it's not easy, not a challenge, we'll always get it off.
And appropriate practices really haven't changed that much, but the pressure that preschool teachers think they're going to play, you know, has changed, and it's changed what they do, and it's not those children. So,
I think it comes down to good change is always fun. It's always fun at the end of the day, if you really can get behind the change. And I will tell you, someone like Bill, I'm not jumping up and down.
Yeah.
But I know, these really feel like good change.
Right.
That we've been looking for a long time.
Yes.
And we as directors, as counselors, as all of us on the board, we can look at that as opportunity to meet the challenge and to be a good thing. And I think if we all get behind it, and we're all sharing that perspective, it'll be easier for everybody else.
and of course, the ELC is going to be key in providing assistance and help to programs and making those changes through the training and, you know, and going out to centers and that sort of thing. So,
You just mentioned training, I think, Dana, gave me a bit of a number, so one of the things that was a win for us this year is that some of our $50, to develop grants, to provide training to teachers that they actually got paid to.
yeah, and that's
Wonderful.
That's wonderful.
All right. All right, do we have any public comment? Yeah, if you have public comment, you need to raise your hand. You'll be unmuted and you'll have 3 minutes. Anyone?
Going once?
Going once? Okay.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Who is it?
Ann Lee?
It's Anne.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I just want to read the result of the surveys that were conducted. If I can share the screen?
No. No, we've already received them.
Oh, but I think most of the providers here, we have like 33 participants here, would like to know the result of the survey that they participated.
The result was it?
Yeah. The results were sent to them, and we're not going to take a survey monkey survey under advisement. Do you have something else you'd like to discuss?
That should do it.
Okay. Sebastian Edwards.
As part of the community, I want to know the results.
You can contact Ms. Leaf. I'm sure she'll be happy to give them to you.
Can we have them recorded, please?
No.
No, they're not recorded. We voted on that earlier today.
Yeah. It died for lack of a motion. No, that's the second.
No addition. Motion to adjourn.
Okay, Lou and Michelle.
Oh, we did? Yeah. Okay, sorry.
We didn't vote. So.
Go ahead.
Did you say Stan Stumeyer?
Stumeyer.
Oh, sorry. I knew that. I was like, Anna.
STEP unmuted on our
Okay. Okay, Hannah?
We can't hear you. Speaking? Are you muted on your end?
She was not muted.
Okay.
I know. Well,
All right.
my old computer, I do have problems with sound sometimes. It can't get things,
Any comments or like?
Is she putting anything in the chat?
Oh, we're not showing.
Okay, my motion stands to adjourn.
And I'll second your second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. It's too late, the motion's not made.
We're gonna get board members
Yeah,
turned
board
on.
members, but, yeah.
All in favor of adjourn?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm gonna have to oppose if there's providers that are still trying to voice their opinion.
They're not though, right? There's no more. And, he's going over it?
Same person.
I don't know if it's our policy.
Okay, yeah, well, since you don't want me to, share the results, I just want to, all the board to give me an answer from the last executive meeting. Still the same question. Why was I fired?
It is not appropriate for us to go into personnel matters. We have HR partners that work with us every step of the way, and we will not discuss anybody's termination. End of story.
Where is the due process there?
That's the law. That's the way it works.
Can you cite me the law? Because I do give you permission to talk about my personal matter.
The board has made a decision that personnel is not gonna be discussed in an open forum.
Is there any upcoming meeting where we're going to address these issues?
No, we're not. Not in an open meeting.
Yep. Take it under advisement.
Yes.
So you guys were talking about how concerned are you with all these providers, and you don't want to give them the transparency they're asking for.
We're not going to give them the transparency of a survey monkey, which has no scientific background. It could be done.
But these are opinions, honest opinions.
Providers
from all
have
providers.
a contacting the ELC if they need to work with the ELC.
We had a provider meeting yesterday where they had the opportunity to discuss with the ELC.
Guys, my contact information is on every one of my emails. I'll give that to everybody right now. My phone number is 833-3627, extension 204. Call me anytime.
No, it's good.
All right.
We just had one man, as far as I'm concerned, we're adjourned.
Yeah.
He's the age it passed,
We have another hand raised. We need a vote.
and we're gonna vote.
We didn't vote.
We did vote.
No,
They all said
we
nay,
have
he said nay. There was one nay.
There was one day, you're
We
right.
voted,
Mhm.
we're adjourned. Unanimously voted. So,
That time to raise their hand.
They did.
Time of public opinion. And we have voted to adjourn technically at 9:35.
earlier than that, I had 9.
Oh, it was 9:30.
9:30.